Right, welcome back to another vid, my first one for absolutely ages. A combination of basically having the man flu. This week has been man flu week. I've still got it now, you may hear it in the voice, and you probably, definitely, will hear it for the rest of the duration of the vid in regards to either coughs, sneezes, sniffles, that kind of stuff. And the other reason that I've been away from the scene is because I've started a new job. And you know what it's like when you start a new job. You know, you've got to meet a whole new lot of people, understand what they're like, what you can say, what you can't say. More of that in a second. And just apart from that, obviously just taking on a new job and understanding the new role and the new business and all the rest of it. So it's kind of mentally quite draining. It really is. Well, you'll know the score, of course. And I'm working different hours. And it's not like I'm never getting any spare time. I am. But, of course, when I am coming home from work, I'm pretty tired. But I think that's just because it's still a new job. As the weeks and months go by, I'll be able to get back into the swing of things. So really, Saturday and Sunday, particularly Sunday, is the best day for me right now to make a vid. So if I don't make a video on a Sunday, it means that whole week's going to go by, and I'm probably not going to do anything in that week. So it's kind of really hard to keep on top of things. And it's so easy to fall out of the loop, as some of you may know. A week turns into 2 weeks, turns into 3 weeks, and before you know it, it's just very easy to go, bugger it, I can't be bothered doing it anymore. But I've been doing this for 4 years. 4 years this month, and it's a long time. And, you know, I like my channel, I like making vids. It just, for a while, there may not be as many, but then there might. It just, as and when, we'll see. But anyway, yeah, so I started a new job, and something kind of funny happened the other day, which will kind of directly lead me on to another little anecdote I'll tell. So there I was at work. This is a couple of weeks back. And we've got this website. Well, we've got this website. There is a website out there called Pandora, and you may be aware of it. It's basically a music station, and it's free as far as I'm aware anyway, unless our company have just signed up for it. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, it's free when I went on there. And what it essentially does is if you go in there, go onto the website and you put in, like I did, Pet Shop Boys. I was in a Pet Shop kind of synth-pop mood that particular day. And so I put that band into the website, and it creates a playlist for you of what it thinks are similar sounding either artists or from artists from that genre. Synth-pop, dance, whatever it may be. And so I was listening to it, and funnily enough, the Pet Shop Boys came on. I think it was West End Girls. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, I can't remember. And then the likes of the Human League came on, and Erasure, etc., that kind of stuff. And then, I think that the next one on was the Thompson Twins from the 80s. A lot of people will be aware of the Thompson Twins, with, you know, Hold Me Now, Doctor Doctor, all that kind of stuff. Pretty decent band. And so the Thompson Twins song finished, and I took the headphone out my ear, and I said to my work colleague, I said, Colleen, name's Colleen, I said, Thompson Twins, I've not listened to them for absolutely ages. I don't know why I felt the need to share it with her. And she said, well, it's funny you say that, because the other day I was listening, or watching, whatever she said, to an interview with Tom Bailey from the Thompson Twins. And I went, oh, yeah. And she went, yeah. And she just went on to say what he's up to these days, and she found the interview interesting and all that kind of stuff. And while she was saying this, I knew the name Tom Bailey. I know Tom Bailey is in the Thompson Twins, or was in the Thompson Twins. But I couldn't remember which one he was, because there was two guys and there was the girl. The girl was the weird-looking one, and then there was the two guys. One was black and one was white. And I was thinking, Tom Bailey, which one's Tom Bailey? I had no idea. Although, in hindsight, I should have known. I'd just forgotten, basically, because it'd been a while since I'd kind of read anything on the Thompson Twins, or even talked about them, so I was a little bit rusty, to the point of forgetting what race he was. Oh, how ridiculous. So after she finished talking about the interview that she'd watched with Tom Bailey, I said, maybe a bit naively, not sure, I said, which one's Tom Bailey? Is he the black guy or is he the white guy? Now, it's a small little company we work in. It kind of goes around in sort of like an L shape, but that's around the back in essentially different rooms. So in our little proximity, there's only 4 or 5 people, and the place went a little bit quiet as soon as I said he's either black guy or the white guy. Now, this is America, of course, maybe a little bit more politically correct than what I'm used to in the UK. And everything went a little bit silent, or so it seemed. And she went, he's the one with red hair. Now, that didn't answer my question, you know, but I kind of, you know, just the silence and the extended air, that made me paranoid and think, maybe I shouldn't have said that. And then when she said red hair, I immediately, like the way the brain computes, I thought, oh, red? Oh, ginger, right. Ah, the white guy, right. Okay. So, and I just kind of went, oh, thanks, right, yeah. Oh, I haven't seen him for ages. I'm glad he's doing interviews, and I'd said something stupid. Glad he's still well, or something ridiculous like that. I felt a bit awkward, so I didn't know what to say. But was there anything wrong with me? I don't think there was. I'm being a bit rhetoric, I guess, but I don't think there was anything wrong with me saying, is he black or white? Because I wasn't going to say anything bad if she said he was white or black. I just wanted to know for the purpose of the conversation. But it was interesting that she put a spin on it where she didn't want to attribute any kind of form of racism, essentially, from her perspective. That's kind of what I deciphered from that. But I thought it was kind of interesting because I was just asking a question. Now, all I wanted to know was he the white guy or the black guy? If she'd have said, he's the white guy, I'd have went, oh, right, great. If she'd have went, well, he's the black guy, I'd have said, oh, right, great. It wouldn't have bothered me. I don't care, obviously, what he looks like. I just wanted to know for the purpose of the conversation. It just makes things a bit easier if you know what you're talking about. But, like I say, so that kind of made me a little bit slightly paranoid, even though I knew, obviously, that there was no kind of racial connotations from my perspective. I was just doing it for the sake of the conversation. But, I understood and understand why she did that, but it's kind of sad as well in a way that she didn't feel comfortable enough to directly answer the question, because for a split second, just for a very split second, when she said the guy with the red hair, my brain was like, what? Because I wasn't expecting that, because I'd asked the question, I was expecting one answer or the other. I wasn't expecting to get a different answer to the question that I'd asked, which is kind of bizarre. But it reminded me of a situation, this is going back about 7 or 8 years, when I was living in the UK, and I used to work for Barclays, and it was a big head office. You know, not the kind of place where you go in and you take your paycheck, or you check that your nan gave you for Christmas. There was no tellers in there as such, or bank tellers. You know, it was like a head office. The only people who went there, obviously the people who either worked there, or big kind of business directors, delegates, people from around the world, who you're trying to impress. Big money people, essentially. But we were all suited and booted. It was kind of a proper place. And it was like a bloody skyscraper. Like 3,000 people worked there. It was a big place. And one week, I should say, we had these 3 people come in. We had a woman who came in on the Monday, we had a guy came in on the Wednesday, and another guy on the Friday. And they essentially all kind of talked about the same thing, just, you know, new business practices that we were going to be taking on, and rubbish kind of boring bank stuff, which nobody cares about. I didn't even care about, but I pretended I did, obviously, because I worked there. And so on the Monday, this woman came in, and white woman, just to paint the picture. Not that it matters, but just, you know. And she came in, she talked about her stuff, and it was boring, but we smiled and we said thank you very much. And then on Wednesday, a guy came in, a black guy, for the record. Again, obviously doesn't matter. And he came in, he did his chat, and for the record, it was equally as boring. It was rubbish. So whether it's black, white, man, woman, they were all boring. It didn't bother me at all. I just wanted them to go so I could just crack on with my stuff, talking, probably, with my work colleagues. And on a Friday, a white guy came in. And I specifically kind of say the white guy because he was the one who was wrapping up the talk for the entire week, from the girl or the lady on the Monday and the man on the Wednesday. And so the guy's there and he's like, oh, you must be pleased to see the back of us now. I'm now the 3rd person that's come in. God, I bet you just can't wait for the weekend to come. And he was making it, very light-hearted. And we were like, yeah, damn right, can't wait. Bugger off. Wish he never came in the first place. So he's there and he's talking about the woman who came in on the Monday, and then he went, and of course we had the guy on Wednesday. What's his name? Oh, what was it? And he was there on stage. Well, I say on stage, a little bit of a platform, and he was there. And when I say it was a 3,000 kind of capacity bank, there wasn't 3,000 people there. It was just our little team and maybe someone else's. So about 20 odd people or something. So it wasn't really a stage, of course. He was just kind of standing there in front of us. And he was trying to describe, essentially, the guy from Wednesday, which was the black guy. And he didn't want to say black. Obviously, it was obvious he couldn't say that because it would make him look racist. So he was there struggling. Literally, it looked as if like sweat was kind of pouring down his face as he was trying to describe the guy without referring to the colour of his skin. Because he couldn't remember his name, and that was the main thing which started it, because he said, oh, and then on Wednesday it was, oh, what was his name? Oh, God, and he couldn't remember his name. And I bet when he was trying to think of his name, all he could think of was, I want to say the black guy, but I can't say the black guy. And so it just went on and on and on, and we were there, me and my friend Stuart, just literally kind of, I say laughing, kind of sniggering, really, more than anything, because it was just funny in kind of an excruciating, embarrassing way on behalf of someone else. just watching them kind of suffer like this. And so the guy was like, oh, I can't remember his name, and he was struggling. And someone, like a fellow colleague, went, well, what did he look like? You know, I don't know whether he was intentionally trying to make it more uncomfortable for him or what. You know, because we were all trying to think, who's the guy, even though we knew. And so the guy on stage kind of went, it was the, what you call it, and we were thought, surely he's not going to say black, what you call it, the black guy. He went, no, what you call it, and this is what he went with. He went, it was the tall guy. The tall guy? Again, ridiculous. If he'd have just said it was the black guy on Wednesday would have went, oh, yeah, I remember, yeah. But instead, everybody kind of turned around to each other and went, the tall guy? Who was the tall guy who came in on Wednesday? I think, like I say, a lot of us were kind of playing up, and it was like being at school. We were like children, just trying to embarrass this guy. It was ridiculous. But again, it highlights another example of where people are afraid, and I understand why. Of course, I do. You know, but too afraid to say, you know, black or white or whatever it may be in public. And I think, even though I understand why, I think it's quite a sad indictment on society, really, that we can't do that. You know, it should be obvious when people are referring to people's colour or race or religion or anything. It should be obvious when they're doing it, you know, with, in sincerity, and when they're doing it to be all-out offensive. It should be obvious. Like, clearly, if that guy at Barclays had said, oh, yeah, it was the black guy, he's not being racist. Surely no one thinks that. You know, he's just doing it because he's trying to be descriptive and to paint the picture so we're all aware of what he's talking about. And similarly, when it was with me at work saying to Colleen, my colleague, you know, was Robert Bailey, or is Robert Bailey, is he the black guy, is he the white guy? That's not being racist. That's for the purpose of the conversation. You know, it's relevant. But it's some people, I just think, take the whole politically correct thing, they take it to the nth degree, and I think which is unfortunate because it paints people in a negative light when that's not the way it was meant. But anyway, a couple of stories there to start the video off. It's completely pointless and non-gaming related, but who cares? That's that. Now, speaking of gaming related, kind of, I guess, indirectly or directly, over the course of the last couple of months, there's been this Google Plus, which I'll touch upon in a second, but also this copyright claim thing, which has been hitting a lot of big channels. Excuse me, that was like a double sniff cough there. That was a good move. And yeah, I've got to be honest, I don't know a great deal about this situation, so take what I'm going to say with a severe pinch of salt, really do. And I've only watched maybe 3 or 4 vids on the matter, so maybe things have changed, maybe things haven't, I don't know. So don't take this as gold at all, don't even take it as my final opinion, it's just how I think I understand it right now, with being out of the loop and not understanding the laws and legalities and all the technical kind of stuff of it. But from what I can see, a lot of channels are complaining, and the ones who seem to be complaining are relatively big channels and or channels who monetize their vids. And I think that's the key here, monetize their vids. And basically what's happening is they are doing gameplay vids, they're putting music in or whatever else it may be, cutscenes, I don't know, mentioning other games, maybe not so much in terms of saying their name, there's nothing wrong with that, but essentially showing footage, trailers and all that kind of stuff. And then what's happening is these big companies are saying, well, actually, you can't use that because that's ours. But I think the bigger picture isn't I don't think it's the company saying you can't use it, that's ours. I think what they're saying is you can't use it because you're making money from it, because they're monetizing their account. And a lot of these, the bigger channels, the ones who are being hit, the ones who monetize their account, they seem to be, from what I've seen, throwing out this line of, oh yeah, but it's fair use. But again, I don't understand, I want to stress that again. I was under the impression that fair use is for someone like myself. I don't monetize my videos. I'm not saying I'm holier than thou, I just don't do it, there's no reason. If you do monetize your vids, good luck to you. It doesn't bother me. If you can earn a living doing this, sitting at home making vids, do it, great. It beats working in an office 9 to 5, so I don't have a problem with people who want to do it and earn money and become millionaires or whatever. Good luck to you. I'd do it if I could. So, it doesn't really bother me if people are making money. But this whole fair use thing, like I say, I don't monetize my account or monetize my vids. So if I was to upload some gameplay footage of any game, which I have done in the past, I put them into a playlist the other day or the other week. I've got like 75 bloody gameplay vids, way more than I thought. Check them out. I won't get paid for it, but it doesn't matter. Um, but yeah, I don't monetize my vids, and as a result, I'm not profiting off someone else's work. And I think this is the point. These guys are saying, oh, but it's fair use, I can use this. But it's not fair, is it, if you think about it? Because these guys are getting 100% of the money. And how's that fair? Now, I don't ever, well, seldom come down on the sides of big companies and corporate things. I hate all that. I hate the fact that people out there earn billions and billions and billions when people like you and me probably struggle. You know, I hate that. It's really... yeah, I've never been comfortable with that. But surely it gets to the point where you've got too much money and there should be some kind of cap. But anyway, that's maybe an argument for another day. So I'm not whatsoever coming down on the side of corporate companies who have billions of pounds and dollars. But at the same time, it is a bit hypocritical, really, to just all out wrong, I think, anyway, to want to essentially upload gameplay footage and profit off it 100%. Now, what there should be, as far as I'm concerned, is some kind of percentage take. And I don't know how it would work. It's not my job to figure out. But maybe for every person who monetizes their account, maybe 10% of that goes to the company and 90% of it, and I believe it should be, 80, 90%, the huge chunk of it should go to the individual, because they're obviously putting their own personal kind of individual stamp on that vid with their personality. They've put the time and effort into it. They may have bought props and things, if that's what they want to do, to make it more of a kind of like a presentation, like a show or whatever it is they do on their channel. And they put their hard work and their effort and their time, blood, sweat and tears and all the rest of it. So 100%, or 90%, I guess, I come down on the side of the uploader, whether they monetize their channel or not. But I've got to be honest, I'd be lying if I said that I don't think a percentage of that money should go towards the big companies, or even if it's a small company. If you're using someone else's work, and this is the key, and you're profiting off it, if you're making money, then I believe you should pay them something. Am I in the minority there? I don't think I am, but it appears as if I am from the videos that I've seen, but I've only seen 3, 4, 5 vids. Excuse me. But yeah, I've just kind of been shocked to see a lot of people so vehemently against YouTube, like blaming YouTube for the fact that this is happening. Or maybe the bigger picture is the fact that YouTube didn't see this coming, and as a result they kind of didn't plan ahead in regards to companies taking a certain cut. Maybe that's what the bigger picture. But I've got to be honest, that aside, I've just genuinely seen a lot of people angry that they're not allowed to use other people's material, and it's like they don't understand. They think everything should be free in life. And there's a percentage of society which is like that these days. It's almost like a generation. They expect something for nothing, and it's like that's not how it works. So yeah, just to reiterate, I do absolutely think companies should get a slice of the money, but it should be very much a small part of it, 10%, and 90% of that money that is earned through either likes on videos or ads or however it works, that should go to the individual making the vid. So I just want to make that clear. The overwhelming majority has to go to the uploader, and I don't have a problem with people, making YouTube a full-time job. If you want to do that, and you can do that, then, good luck to you. Swig of tea, and another cough. And so that kind of leads me to talk about... oh, actually, just before I do, this is pointless kind of saying this because I can't remember the context in which Ben Shenmuso was talking about this. And if you're going to have like a discussion, then facts are all that matter. And I've not really got one here because I can't remember what he said. But he started his, or mentioned in the vid about, if you've got like a BMX race, or let's say you're running a race in like some Adidas trainers or some Nike, then people aren't kind of making money off that or something. He said something like that. But of course, you've got to remember that the big companies like Rally, for example, he mentioned, and Adidas and Nike, they're sponsoring those big athletes, big athletes, or the whatever they are. So they're endorsing it. They're getting their money's worth. They're getting revenue. They're getting revenue back from all the advertising. So I can't remember what context Ben used that example in, but I know he didn't mention the fact that they're already kind of tied to the big companies anyway, and they're getting like a slice of the pie, as it were. So that was pointless even adding that bit in. I can't remember. It was relevant at the time. When I was watching Ben's vid, I went, no, what? You forgot about that. And then Now I can't remember what it was when I make my own bit. Brilliant. So that's that. Yeah, now I want to talk very briefly here about the Google Plus. I've no idea what it is. I really haven't. Again, this is another thing which has really kicked in over the course of the last couple of months since I've been a little bit inactive. And I've had a lot of people, I guess I should be thankful for this, I've had a lot of people who have added me to Google+. I've added nobody right now, but I will get round to it, of course. But I don't know what it is. What does it mean when somebody adds you to Google+? Does that mean that have you got to start your subscription thing again? Does it mean that if you don't add someone, you don't see their feed, their vids, you can't comment on their vids? I don't really understand how it works. So I'm going to have to, over the course of Christmas and, well, the new year, really, I'm going to have to go through basically all of my subscribers, or maybe just go onto Google Plus and start adding people, because like I say, I've had a lot of people add me, and I'm not really sure what that means when you add someone, so I'm going to have to investigate that. But yeah, in terms of the whole Google changes, it's not really directly affected me as such. I mean, you know, I guess as a retro gamer and a modern gen gamer, but particularly with the retro stuff, I'm quite nostalgic and stuck in the past. A lot of us are, which is why we do the whole retro gaming anyway. And as a result of being a little bit stuck in the past, we don't like change. So as a result, I treat these kind of changes with Google with a degree of suspicion. You know, why is it changing? I don't want it to change. What is it benefiting to me? It probably isn't. From what I can work out, it's not really going to benefit me. But it may be something which a few months or a few years down the line, we can turn around and say, I see why they did that, it makes sense, and this is great, you know. And we may look back at now as a YouTuber and think, God, it was so cumbersome and so slow and ridiculous. Maybe Google Plus will end up being a good thing. I don't know. I've not really looked into it. But, you know, it's nice to kind of, you know, reminisce a little bit. But I think sometimes you've also got to move forward. And as much of a nostalgic person as I am, and I really am, I think you've kind of got to move with the times or you'll just get left behind. I mean, I'm so nostalgic. I've touched upon this before. This is weird, by the way. Weird, spoiler alert. I'm the kind of person who will and who has went onto YouTube and watched in its entirety an episode of TV AM. If anyone remembers that. I think it's like from 1987. That someone's uploaded it like in 4, 5, 6 parts, like 20, 25 minutes each or more or whatever it is. And I've just sat down and, albeit maybe watched written emails or done something else while it's been playing in the background, but kind of watched it and almost watched it as if it was 1987 again. It's just bizarre. I'm weird. And I can watch like old adverts and I could talk your ear off about nostalgia and fashion and music and games. Honestly, if you love your nostalgia and I'm in the same room as you in the future as a one-off or a regular thing, then we will have a good time. We will have a good time just talking old stuff. It's just ridiculous. It's like I list it as a hobby. Nostalgia. It's brilliant. But I do love, you know, technology. I love future stuff. Like, I will love future stuff. I've never been afraid to embrace technology, iPods, iPads, Kindles, using a Mac, you know, whatever it may be. I like it. I like new technology. But I do like retro stuff and nostalgia. And as a result, when it comes to change, I'm not a massive fan initially, but I get used to it eventually. Well, quite quickly, essentially. So that's that. And I think that's really all I want to talk about. I guess I could. You can't really see it because the screen's faded. I've only went out and bought an Xbox One. Hands up. I don't know what to say. Now, going back about, when was it? Maybe 3 months, 4 months. I made a vid. It was probably a vlog, and I said, you know, I'm not sure whether I want to go next gen. I kind of do, but I don't. And again, it came down to that technology thing that I just alluded to a second ago. I like technology, and I feel as if I've got to get it. But this generation, when I say this generation, I mean with the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, was something that I was considering skipping, or at least avoiding for a while. Maybe because of the price, I don't know. But the main reason, I guess, was because with the last generation of games, and it may have something to do with YouTube as well. So by last gen, PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360. I know it's still relevant, they're still making games, but technically it is kind of last gen now. And what I started to find with that last gen is that I did the classic thing, and I've touched upon this on YouTube many times over the last 4 years, but I started to get into that situation where I bought a lot of games, on pickup vids especially, of course, and I would show them off like some kind of proud parent. Oh, look at this, got this one, and then there's this one, And all I did with them is I just put them on a shelf. And I seldom played them. And it got to the stage where if you go back about 3 years on my channel, I did an Xbox 360 collection vid. Excuse me. And it was split into 4 parts. And I had about 150 games, give or take. And I subsequently ended up getting a lot more than that as well, but I just never did get around to doing an updated collection vid. And then latterly, I started collecting, buying and collecting and playing and whatever, PlayStation 3 games, and I picked up a similar amount. I must have had about 150 to 200 games. But the same thing happened where all I was doing was buying them, spending money on them, of course, you would do if you're buying them, but just putting them on a shelf. And what I found was it was really, really deflating because I didn't want to go for a full collection of 360 or PS3 games. Obviously nothing wrong with that, but it was just I didn't want to do that. It didn't mean enough to me, that system. There wasn't like any nostalgia, any real ties for me to be that devoted and that committed to go for a full collection with it. So, you know, I didn't really see the point of having all these games because... And then the worst thing of all is sometimes I'd have like a spare hour or two or whatever it is, and I'd think to myself, well, I'm gonna go on my PS3, and then I'd go to that shelf, and then there'd be like a couple of shelves, then there'd be more games which couldn't fit on the shelf, and I'd think to myself, well, let's play, what should we play? And I'd look at like Uncharted 2. Now, I had all of them, Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3. I played Uncharted, but it took me about a year of owning it before I even put the bloody disc into the PS3. When I did play it, I thought it was absolutely brilliant, a really good game, and I urge anyone to play Uncharted. It's a brilliant game. Now, apparently Uncharted 2 is much better, big time, but again, about a year had gone by, I had this game, I hadn't touched it, so I'd think to myself, right, let's play Uncharted 2. So I'd go to, you know, grab the game and pull it off the shelf, and then out of the corner of my eye, I'd see something like Little Big Planet, which I love that game, I think it's brilliant. But I've also got Little Big Planet 2 as well. Still never played Little Big Planet 2. So I'd go to pull Little Big Planet off, because I've only done about 10% of the game, if that. And then, so I'd put Uncharted 2, so that hand would put Uncharted 2 back, and then that hand would pull out Little Big Planet. And then out the corner, you know, another eye, I've only got 2. But, you know, I'd see, I don't know, like Max Payne or something. Poor example, but the first thing I could think of. And I think, yeah, I've not played that. And then I've got to pull that out. But then my left eye would see, like, Syndicate. Now, Syndicate's not a particularly great game. I've only ever played the demo, but it's a game which I do want to get into because I like the look of it with, like, kind of the neon lights and the whole Syndicate kind of environment. Syndicate being, like, an old game from the Amiga and the ST, you know, back in the day. And I think, yeah, let's play that. And then I'd pull that one out. And then I'd see something else, like Mod Nation Racers. And so on and so forth. And basically... 20 minutes would easily, you know, just like that, it would go by, and I've played nothing because I've got everything, and I just don't want to do that anymore. So that was one of the reasons why I didn't want to, you know, jump on board the Xbox One stroke PS4, because I thought, well, what I'm going to do is I'll just, you know, go back into old habits, and I'll invariably just end up buying a load of games that I don't want, or maybe do want, but will never get round to playing, because I'm always kind of playing catch-up. It's ridiculous. So what I've decided to do, and it'll be interesting to see how well I stick to this, I guess you'll see when it comes to pick-up vids, but I've got a couple of games, I'll show you them in a second, and there are a couple of games that I wanted to buy that I know I'm going to enjoy, although one of them I've had for 3 days now, and I've put it on for 5 minutes, but I will get into it, and I'm going to play them, I'm going to enjoy them, and then when I'm ready, and then only when I'm ready, I'm going to buy another game, because these things are, you know, pricey. I think $50 each these things were, you know, with like a retail of 60 as well. But as ever, you shop around and you save a few quid or a few dollars. And so yeah, anyway, let me just show you what I've got. The first one up, did I say show you what I've got? Got, very posh. Got, or bought. A combination of bought and got. Got, brilliant. Anyway, so yeah, that was a weird, funny 30 seconds out there. Need for Speed Rivals, and there's the spine, you want to see the spine. And it's interesting because they're all, so far anyway, they're all grey with white writing, although a little bit of red there at the bottom, which is kind of quite artistic, but it'll be very interesting to see when I've got like 10, 15, 20, or go in for a full Xbox One collection. It's not happening. But if it ever did, it'll be interesting to see them all lined up, because it would just be this mass, this splash of grey and a bit of green, I guess. It might look a bit of a mess. Maybe not, I don't know. But yeah, I think it's an interesting take if they keep this grey thing up, rather than just being a load of multicolours. I think it could be quite artistic, I guess. We'll see. So yeah, Need for Speed Rivals, a little bit like Burnout in a sense, you know, crashing into the cars, and you can play as the cops or the robbers, and just an interesting kind of take. I don't think it brings anything new to the table from previous Need for Speed games, but obviously, you know, with a new generation of system, fresh lick of paint, and all the rest of it, I think it'll be good. Now, I've only put it on for 5 minutes, but I thought it was alright, but I've just been playing this other game a lot more. So that's that. Yeah, now I very nearly bought Forza 5, and to be honest, I might. It's kind of there in my Amazon shopping basket. I'm just tempted to click on it, but there's a lot of microtransactions for that game, and I know a lot of people are a bit wary about that. I just think that's something we're going to see with this and future generations. We're going to see, you know, every opportunity to basically milk you of some extra dollars or pounds or money, basically. And as a result, games are seemingly being released kind of scaled down. And if you want to get like an extra map or an extra weapon, then you've got to pay for it. Now, personally, I don't so much mind if the pricing is sensible. What I don't want to be doing is buying a game like in a physical aspect like this, and it being so scaled down, and paying kind of $50 for it, being so scaled down that to get all the features, you've got to pay like another $100, because obviously that would make it a $150 game. And that's just completely, as far as I'm concerned, unacceptable. So if it's just little things which you don't need, such as like the likes of Call of Duty, apparently, you can download for $2 a wolf skin. And what it does is it replaces the dog, the dog with a wolf, which it doesn't do anything. And apparently it still makes the dog sound, like the barking, even though it's a wolf. It's kind of crazy. And it's $2. All right, $2, big deal. I won't be doing it unless I'm just completely stupid one day and just think, whatever. Maybe over the new year when I'm drunk or whatever. Yeah, $2, who cares? But no, it's going to be something which I'm not going to do. But if it doesn't affect the gameplay, who cares? It's there for someone who wants to do it. But the minute they start changing gameplay features or you know, making microtransactions for things which are relevant for gameplay, like extra levels or certain characters which are, you know, woven into the storyline, if you've got to pay like $10, $20 for that kind of stuff, then that's pretty unacceptable as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, that whole microtransaction thing is something which already I've seen is going to be very prevalent for this generation. So the other game that I've got, and this is the one I've been playing a lot of, it's a first-person shooter. It's one you take online a lot, and it is not Call of Duty. It's Battlefield 4, and this is really good when it works. Whoa, what's just happened there? Oh, just Xbox knocked itself off. Did you hear that? That's pretty loud. Wow, that is weird, isn't it? Now, it is voice recognition as well, so you can use a Kinect thing. I know a lot of people don't like Kinect. You can turn it off. You don't have to have it on. But it is kind of handy as well. Just, you could say, like, you know, I won't say it now. In fact, I think I've got it, you see there, it says turn on Kinect in settings. So I've got it turned off. So if I say something like, well, now it's not going to matter, but I could say, like, Xbox One, and it would come on automatically as soon as you walk into a room, so you don't need a remote control. You can go to Netflix, do everything basically voice recognition. And when it works, it's good, it really is. And I love the fact that the Xbox has got Skype as well. Now, I've not even used it yet, not used Skype, but I love the fact that it's got it. And so I can talk to people. If you've got Skype and you've got an Xbox One, we can chat. If you haven't got an Xbox One and you've got Skype, you can still use it. It's brilliant. And so I'm really looking forward to that, and especially looking forward to using it whilst gaming with other Xbox One users, be it on YouTube or otherwise. I think it's kind of going to be really cool. I think you can turn the picture off as well, so you can just talk, you know, in the headset. So that's good as well. So you might not be in a mood where you want to have your bloody living room or this spare room, in this case, on display, you know, privacy and all the rest of it. But I'm really looking forward to that. I think Skype's a really cool thing, and especially for me as well. You know, I'm in America, like you didn't know that. So, you know, being away from, well, being away from home, I'm kind of at home, but being away from one home, if you like, especially at Christmas, you know, it's a little bit harder, get the violins out and all the rest of it. And I think having Skype is great, but not just for Christmas, all through the year. So, yeah, if you've got Skype, then you should let me know. And we may Skype, if I can be bothered. I'm pretty lazy, and you might be as well, so let's pretend I didn't say that. But I'm definitely looking forward to being a lot more social with this generation. That's another thing as well. You know, with the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, I hardly ever used a headset. I really didn't. And I should have really, because, you know, keeping in touch with people and having a chat and just having a laugh, having fun with friends is what it's all about. And even if, you know, I or you don't want to use the headset or Skype, you don't want to do any of that stuff, just joining the same lobby and kind of interacting and socialising, essentially, I think it's a good thing. So that's what I'm really going to do with this generation, a lot more. Now, some days, you know, you may invite me to like the Skype, or you may invite me to your party, and I might join. I might not want to talk. I might turn the mic off, or you might. We're all going to have days like that where we don't want to do that. But generally speaking, I do want to integrate a lot more than I have done, because being a hermit is great, but yeah, it's not great all the time. Put it that way. So yeah, I've got the Xbox One. What do I think of it altogether? Yeah, I think it's good. I was one of those people when I'd look at graphic comparisons between like something like Battlefield 4 for all this, because these are both out on the last gen as well. Did I show you the spine? You need to see the spine. So if you put them together, there's that massive grey I was talking about, which I think looks alright, to be perfectly honest. But yeah, I was one of those people where I'd go onto YouTube and I'd look at like a graphical comparison between, say, these two games. And it would show on like one side of the screen the PS3 and the other the PS4 or the 360 and the Xbox One. And I'd look at it and I'd be like, do you know what? I can't tell a difference. I'm not going to go next gen for a while. I can't tell a difference. But it's only when you buy it, it's only when you get this new generation, you really do see that there's a big difference. There really is. And I'm pleased now I've made the decision. If it was $500, which is about 400 quid, it's a lot of money. But everything is when you buy it kind of at or around launch. But now I've got it, I'm really pleased to get it. And I do like the layout. It's a little bit all over the place, really, but I'll get used to it. But graphically, it looks good, and I'm really pleased. It's exciting. It's a new kind of generation of controller. And as you can see there, when you press the light, or press the button, the light shines up, comes on. It's pretty clever. I like it. The controller kind of feels a little bit like the old one, really. So if you're used to the old one, it's more of the same thing, but just slightly refined. It does feel better. I'm not going to do, obviously, unbox. I've already unboxed it. I'm not going to go through the menu systems. There's thousands of videos out there that do that. Maybe over time I might go into it a little bit more for specific features, but we'll cross that bridge if and when we come to it. Maybe Skype, for example. That could be something I could bring to the channel. If I'm talking to YouTubers with the Skype and maybe a bit of gameplay, could be something I do. Maybe not. It could be a lot of effort involved in that, and I might be a little bit too lazy. But anyway, yes, so pleased I've got it. I was going to talk about something else. I think I started to, and I just completely forgot what I was talking about. But yeah, graphically, the Xbox One is really good. Now, I did nearly buy the PS4, and if I'm being honest with you, I did want the PS4 first, but I couldn't get one anyway. It was sold out. And then I got a little bit greedy, and I thought, well, I want one before Christmas. I don't want to pay eBay prices, which are kind of $100 and $200 more. And then one day I just kind of randomly went on Amazon, and it said something like 10 left in stock, order now to get it for tomorrow or whenever. And I just didn't think really, and I was like, right, get it. And I just bought it. And I've got to be honest, just after I bought it, my finger was hovering over the cancellation button, because I thought it's a lot of money. Do I really want to go next gen? For some of the reasons that I listed before, about the whole game thing and buying too many, and the online aspect as well, all the back chat and the slagging off and the trolling and all that. I just could have done without it. It's something I really didn't like from the last generation. And I thought, do I really want to do that again? Put myself through all that nonsense. And now I've done it, I'm really pleased I've got it, and it's a lovely bit of kit. There's several other games that, I do want to get. I mean, like the Call of Duty. I will get it at some point, but I know for a fact that I prefer this. This is really good, and to have, is it like 60, it says, 2 to 66 players. Everyone online, like 66 players or whatever it is. I think it's great, just walking around on this map and seeing loads of people. Whereas on the 360, is it limited to 30, 32? That's just pretty poor, really, if you think about it. So that's another thing that this generation brings. It brings, more players online, more interaction, more immersion, and all the rest of it. Now, don't think that I'm going to, discard and kick into touch my retro stuff. Because, as I touched upon before, I'm a very nostalgic retro person. So what we're going to see from me, I'll probably save this for a New Year's resolution vid. I kind of usually do a New Year's resolution vid, and more often than not, don't adhere to what I was going to say. Although, to be fair, last year I did. I think this year I've only done about 4 or 5 pickup vids. I've hardly bought anything. I think I'll buy more next year, but I'm definitely going to, be specific, which is pretty much what I've done this year as to things I want. And as I said, this is what I'm going to do with this generation. I'm not just going to go out and buy something just because it's like $10 or $20 in the sale. If I've no interest in it, I'm not getting it, unless someone's giving it to me for free or it comes part of a bundle or whatever it is. But yeah, next year I think Even though I may save this for a New Year's resolutions vid, I think I'm going to get back into my, well, obviously my Atari ST, my Amiga. That's a given. That's obvious. I still kind of want to pick up my Sega Saturn stuff. I really do. This has been like a collection I've wanted to go for, since the late 90s. And at various points since then, I have, started to have that kind of, full set collection mentality of the PAL Sega Saturn. PAL purely for nostalgia, of course. But I'm not sure I want to go full set. I mean, that's a big commitment. And it's something I'm not even thinking of. I'm just going to pick up the games that I really want. And then, further down the line, a year down the line, a decade down the line, whatever it may be, if I kind of look at my Sega Saturn games, I think, do you know what? I only need 20, and I've got them all. I might get 20, or the remaining 20, but I'm not going to go out and buy rubbish. Now, I do have some rubbish games for the Saturn already. They're all in the UK. And maybe in January, February, March, whenever, I'll get them sent over. But I'll save all that stuff for future pickup vids as and when. So that's that. In regards to other stuff, I still kind of want to get back into the N64, but I'm not sure because I played it again relatively recently and it has aged badly. But I do have nostalgia for it. I love that kind of the late 90s, anything from the 90s, quite frankly. The early 90s to the late 90s, I love that era of gaming, or just that era in general. So I personally can play N64 games, even though I can accept they've aged. I do still enjoy them, but it's hard to recommend them to other people who maybe didn't grow up with them or who didn't play them, because you look at them and they do look rough for the most part. I know some people think that N64 games don't look too bad, but I don't know what I don't know what drugs you're on. They look rough. They look rough, but I love them because it's nostalgia. And maybe if you think they look really good, maybe you're being too nostalgic. It's very hard to recommend an N64 game to people who maybe didn't grow up in that era. But anyway, that's that. PlayStation 1, I do want to get back into that as well. But again, very specific with the PS1 with me. From 1995 to about 99, maybe 2000. That's kind of my thing. Anything PS1 related from 2000 onwards, I'm not interested in whatsoever. Again, unless I buy something and it comes as part of a bundle or whatever it may be. So I think that's all I want to talk about. Like I say, I will save any kind of New Year's resolutions chat for that particular vid if I do one. But I just wanted to get this video out because it's been ages since I made one. It's gone on for a long, long time. But then it's a video from me. It would do. What do you expect? So, yeah, got the Xbox One. Really pleased with it. I'm going to go online. I've played online with a couple of friends already. I don't think anyone from YouTube yet, just a couple of old school friends that I used to know from when I was a lad, which is great. It's really nice. And again, it's one of them things which just reminds me how fun current generation gaming can be. Everyone talks about, old school was better where you'd sit on the couch or on the bed with your friend. Well, that was great. Don't get me wrong. And that still is great. But really, I think maybe some people look at it with rose-tinted glasses. If you take a step back and a step away from the nostalgia, today's generation of gaming is amazing. Put on a headset, you talk to people, and especially for me, like I say, if you look at it from this perspective, me being a Brit in America, I don't get to see all my friends every day, clearly. So for someone like me, this technology is amazing, and I can see them. I can see you on a bloody screen. It's brilliant. So I think we should embrace technology. But just because we embrace technology, it doesn't mean to say we've got to, disregard the old stuff. There's room for everything. There really is. If you allow it, it's not a threat. This new stuff isn't a threat to the old stuff. The old stuff is always going to be there. Remember that. It's always going to... Even if the future of gaming goes digital, don't worry about it. Why care? You've still got PS1, Dreamcast, N64. It's always going to be there. And if you don't want to buy it, you can emulate it. That's a dirty word for some, but emulation's really good, I think. I'd rather have the physical thing, of course I would, but emulation is a nice kind of, it saves you money, ultimately, or it's a try before you buy, depends on which way you want to look at it. Anyway, so that's that. I'll wrap this vid up. Again, apologies for being inactive lately. New job, you know what it's like. It may be, some time before I get back into the swing of things, so please don't think if I'm not watching your vids, or sorry, if I'm not commenting on your vids, please don't think it's that, I'm avoiding you. It doesn't mean I'm not watching. It doesn't mean I'm not listening to them, as I touched upon before with the whole iPod thing. It's just that finding time to go back and comment on everyone's vids is really difficult for me at this moment in time. So, but yeah, there's never an obligation, and neither should there be an obligation. I don't expect everybody who's watching this to leave a comment. You don't have to. Why would you? It would be nice, because it would be nice to know certain people are watching, rather than just, not watching, of course, I guess. But I don't really care. I put these videos out obviously for me, but also for people who want to watch them. If someone doesn't like it, well, that doesn't bother me. I only make videos for me and for people who like it. And if that's you, fantastic. Then I'm doing my job. So, well, not literally my job. I'm not getting paid for it, unlike those bloody monetizers. Oh, no. Again, I want to stress for that. I don't have a problem with people who monetize their channels or their vids. Do what you want. We're all on this planet to make money. We shouldn't have to make money. I'm sure we weren't put on this planet to make money, but that's the way society is. You've got to make money. And if you can do it by uploading vids on YouTube and gaming and vlogging and doing whatever, good for you. It doesn't bother me whatsoever. It used to kind of annoy me a little bit when I first kind of understood it, or didn't understand it, I guess. I used to think it was pretty greedy, earning money, oh, what a cheek. And now I just think, good for you. If you want to, it's your channel, do it. Your channel, your rules. Do what you like. I don't care. Anyway, that was like an extra kind of little 5 minutes I did on. Yeah, thanks for watching. If I make another vid before Christmas, then I guess I'll save my Christmas wishes before then. But if I don't, then have a great Christmas, and I'll either see you before the new year or after the new year. And let's make 2014, everybody, let's make 2014, honestly, the greatest year ever. Because I'm sure every single one of us this year has had things, issues, friends, family, just life in general, where we've like, do you know what, I could have done without that. Whatever it is, I've had it, we've all probably had it. But 2014 is going to be the year for me where I honestly, once and for all, everything kind of gets, all the boxes start to get ticked. They may not get completely ticked, but at least half ticked, on the way to being fully ticked. That was just weird. So yeah, I'm going to really make it a good one. All that kind of negativity, any arguments that I've had with people, it's just not going to go there anymore. It's just ridiculous. I'm just going to be a no bloody things. Oh, I thought it'd gone off again. It just kind of faded. So, yeah, anyway. So, yeah, it's just going to be positivity, which usually is with me anyway. That's what it is on my channel, But anyway, I'm talking absolute nonsense. This is the worst ending to a video ever. So before it gets even more cringeworthy, I'm going to go. Thanks for watching. If I don't speak to you before, have a great Christmas and a Happy New Year. And like I say, let's make it a good one. See you later.